Hello! I know it has been a while, but I wanted today to look over the new expansion, Saviors of Uldum. There's like 30 cards revealed so far, and personally, this is the first time I've looked at this expansion. I've actually been playing Hearthstone. In fact, I got to Legend for the first time, but I haven't really been watching videos or keeping up on everything that's going on. So let's look at all of the new cards. First up, we have Bizarre Mugger. 5 mana, 3/5 rogue minion with rush and battle cry. Add a random minion from another class to your hand. I think that's pretty good. Again, 5 mana for a 3/5 is kind of trash, but the fact that you have rush is pretty decent. If it was 4/5, it would be really good. It also doesn't have overkill, like it's a battle cry, so no matter what, you're gonna get another random minion. The fact that it's a minion, I think actually makes it weaker, because if it was a spell, spells tend to be a little bit more powerful. I think just getting a random minion, while it is fun, and getting it from another class can help buff other rogue cards, it tends to be a weaker card. So I think with the stat line also, even though it does have rush, unless you're going for the synergy, I don't think this is that good. Next up we have Scarlet Webb Weaver, 6 mana, 5/5 hunter beast with the battle cry. Reduce the cost of a random beast in your hand by 5. Wow. Okay. This is an interesting card. It's a slow card for sure, which Hunter doesn't do super well with. 6 mana 5/5 is not a good stat line. You could hit this on a beast like High Main, and that would be amazing. 1 mana for that amazing legendary card. I mean, unless you're playing some sort of big beast deck, or you have some sort of combo where you're only running a certain beast that you need that combo for, this is going to be a little tough. So Scarlet Web Weaver, it's going to be a very situational card. Maybe it won't see play this first expansion. It has some promise, but it's going to be very, very niche. And when you actually do play it, that's going to be a pretty weak turn. 6 mana 5/5, it's not a terrible stat line, but it's not what you want to do on turn 6. Alright, next up is Wild Bloodstinger. 6 mana 6/9. 6 mana 6/9. Hunter beast with the battle cry. Summon a minion from your opponent's hand. Attack it. Oh, this is fun. I like these type of cards. It's one of those cards to mess with your opponent. And on top of that, even though you are attacking into something kind of at random, you get good stats with this card. This card's amazing. I mean, you could use this against opponent combo decks. If your opponent is playing a more aggressive deck, then most likely 6 attack is going to kill whatever an aggro deck is playing, and then the 9 health should probably allow this minion to survive out on the board. So not only are you going to weaken your opponent's hand, but you're also going to get a decent minion out on the board. I think that's pretty good. There's some counters to this, like if your opponent has a poison card or divine shield. It's like a rush, except it's a little bit more random, and it could help you out more. I'm surprised by this card. 6 mana is still a tough slot in order to incorporate a card for Hunter. If you're playing an aggressive deck, you don't really need this card, and so my only fear is that a good card like Wild Bloodstinger isn't going to find the right deck in Hunter in order to actually see play, but maybe with Scarlet Web Weaver, I'm not seeing it yet, but we'll continue. Next up we have Hidden Oasis, 6 mana druid card. Choose one, summon a 6/6 ancient with taunt, or restore 12 health. I like this card. Currently druid has that like health regain deck, and so you could use this to either summon a 6/6 with taunt, which is not amazing, or you could use it to restore the 12 health and maybe resummon your big beefy taunt minions. And the fact that it's a choose one, it works with their legendary, so you could end up casting one of these spells and then getting the other one in your hand. It's going to be one of the weaker cards in a heal deck, but maybe it could work. Next up is Murmy. Okay, I guess that's a name. Oh, it's a Murloc, that's why. 1 mana 1/1 Murloc, neutral with Reborn. So this is actually kind of interesting. It's a sticky Murloc. Basically, it's a 1 mana 1/1 with Death Rattle, summon another 1/1. The only thing is like you don't get Death Rattle synergies. More likely with a Murloc deck, you'd want to get a better 1-drop or just play a better 2-drop, and you want to space the board. But maybe a Murloc that sticks on the board might be useful for a Murloc deck. So Murloc synergy, let's go. Speaking of synergy, Making Mummies, 1 mana Paladin quest. play 5 reborn minions, and your reward is Emperor Wraps. Emperor Wraps? What the hell? It's a hero power. It's a superpower. Summon a 2/2 copy of a friendly minion. That could be powerful. This quest is going to completely depend on what reborn minions are available. More likely than not though, you're going to have to play more than just 5 reborn minions, and if they're all bad cards, let's say you have to play 10 of them in order to get this quest quickly enough, then you're going to have 10 bad cards in your deck. Unless you have specific draw like Paladin does, where you can either draw like your cheapest minions, or I think like 1 attack minions, maybe that's rotated out. The reward of summoning a 2/2 copy of a friendly minion, I think it really works well in like a mech paladin, clearly stuff with like death rattle so they could use it on their eggs or their big old dragon 2/2 guys. It seems more of like a control deck like hero power. Very interesting though. I like it. I like the new hero power idea. Next up we have Expired Merchant, 2 mana, 2/1 warlock minion with the battle cry, discard your highest cost card, and the death rattle, add 2 copies of it to your hand. There's a lot of mechanics right now for warlock, even though it doesn't really see play, all about like messing with your hand size and all that stuff. So I think that's an interesting direction to go with. And I guess the idea with this card is that getting the 2 copies back in your hand, it just gives you more value. Did they add like a discard? They didn't add a discard quest, but there's not a lot of discard incentive without that. There is some control decks that use discard in order to gain more value, but I think in the case of Expired Merchant, being a 2 mana card, you do get control over the discard, but the fact that it's a death rattle, you don't get that value instantly back. It's kind of lame, and the stat line is bad too. So maybe, but no, I don't think it's a good card. Next up is Sir Finley of the Sands, 2 mana 2/3 legendary paladin Murloc with the battle cry, if your deck has no duplicates, discover an upgraded hero power. Wow. So this is the new Baku again. Let's start with if your deck has no duplicates. I do like the no duplicate requirement from cards like Reno and other cards that required it. I think it was a really fun deck building exercise. It allowed unique and powerful decks with this, 1 powerful card, while also like limiting, you couldn't use 2 brawls, or you couldn't use, 2 of your most powerful cards. And I think Sir Finley of the Sands and having that requirement is pretty fun. But you discover an upgraded hero power. My one concern about this is that it's an early game card, or you get the most out of it if you get it in the early game. Which again, Paladin does have some cards that you can use in order to increase the chances that you'll get, like a cheaper card like Sir Finley earlier in the game, but I just don't think it's really worth the deck requirement. And on top of that, the fact that you discover an upgraded hero power and that it's kind of random means you're gonna have a tough time making a deck with some sort of game plan out of this. It's just value with no guaranteed plan, and on top of that, you still need to draw this card, and you want to draw it as early as possible. So I kind of hope this card isn't very good, because then we won't have a situation where if your opponent draws this card early in the game, then they're just gonna win. But I don't think it's really that good, so I think we're safe in that case. Next up we have Elise the Enlightened, 5 mana 5/5, legendary for Druid with the battle cry, if your deck has no duplicates, duplicate your hand. Druid definitely has more control tech cards. I think they're still hurting a little bit from when they had like Ultimate Infestation and like they started printing Treant cards and stuff like that. So I don't know if Druid has enough cards to get out a full-fledged deck without any duplicates, at least for this first expansion. And duplicating your hand is a powerful effect, but having that restriction on your deck, I just don't really see it being worth it unless you have some sort of combo. And the only reason I think you would use this card for a combo is if you wanted to duplicate more legendaries. Kind of a silly card, maybe another no duplicate deck required powerful card. Maybe that would bump this up to see play. Next up is Dino Tamer Bran, 7 mana 2/4. What is up with the stat line? Hunter. Legendary minion for Hunter with the battle cry, if your deck has no duplicates, summon King Crush. Okay, that makes sense actually. For 7 mana you get an 8/8 with charge plus the 2/4 minion. Is it worth the no duplicates thing? Maybe? I'm trying to think what sort of combos you could do. The fact that you, on turn 10, would have 3 extra mana to work with means that you might be able to somehow duplicate the other King Crush. I don't know, I'll have to look at cards when I'm editing this video. I feel like there could be some sort of combo you could use this, not necessarily for an OTK, but still something pretty nice. I think the main issue with these no duplicate cards right now is that we're kind of only in the second expansion of this year, and I think next expansion having even more cards would be better. We'll see what else is released this expansion. Even though it is in Hunter, I think this might have the best chance so far, in my opinion. We'll see. Then there is Reno, the real ecologist? I don't know. Good old Reno's back though. For Mage this time, 6 mana, 4/6, battle cry. If your deck has no duplicates, deal 10 damage randomly split among all enemy minions. I wonder if you could use this with some sort of spell damage mage. That was like almost a thing at one point. A lot of the spell damage mage cards are actually being used right now in like the Cyclone deck, or at least cards that would be upgraded by spell damage. And you know, a 6 mana 4/6 that deals 10 damage randomly is pretty good. If anything, it's just kind of a good card, and this runs into the same problem of, does Mage have enough one-off good cards in order for this to be worth it? I think Mage is one of the more promising classes, like they have a lot of pretty good cards, but I just don't know if the reward's worth it right now. I think I'm changing it to this might be the best chance, just because it's in Mage, and dealing 10 damage, whether to minions or the enemy faces, is pretty good, and it's in line with the Cyclone deck out right now. But then you can only play one Cyclone. What was that?